What up, y'all? It's your boy RTR Mooly Man, and we back with another podcast episode. And I just recorded my recap of Week 3 college football, and I was gonna do like the idea I'm doing for this video now, but it ended up turning into a recap. So now I'm just gonna focus down and talk more specifically, go more into detail about what is happening in college football this weekend. It's was pretty much all of these Power 5 schools were struggling against FCS teams. FCS, well, not FCS, FCS group of 5 teams, and it's ridiculous because it seemed like the whole entire landscape was struggling. Yet, of course, SEC got the blame because and they do deserve a little bit extra blame because those are ranked teams compared to some of the non-ranked teams. So I do understand that, but then also like there's no accountability onto these other conferences. But putting that aside, let's go right down into the weekend. The first game, which wasn't really was like an upset or anything, but Syracuse beat Purdue. That was a fun game. I suggest all of you guys to go rewatch that if you can. But going into what games that could have been the upset is the first one is Southern Illinois beating Northwestern. I get Northwestern is going to be one of the worst teams in the Big 10, no doubt, but this is not a good look for the program. Southern Illinois has already lost to Southeastern Missouri State, and they also lost to Incarnate Word 64 to 29, 24, 29. They were blown out by Word by 35 points, and they still beat Northwestern. That is pathetic, man. And Northwestern's only win was against Nebraska, of course. Nebraska's terrible, but but yeah, that's not a good look for Big 10 because some of these Big 10 teams, because Purdue losing to Syracuse. I know Syracuse is 3-0, but people are. Can you really say that they're a 3-0 team right now? I don't know, man. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I mean, they are a 3-0 team. My bad. Shouldn't you say they're a top 25 team? I don't know. Maybe because of how many teams have been struggling, you can say it, but I wouldn't go that far as of yet. Maybe if they go 4-5-0, beat Virginia, even though Virginia doesn't look like that great of a team, still you're undefeated. That should count for something. Uh, and also Indiana and Western Kentucky. Why was Western Kentucky winning most of this game? And Indiana, props to them for coming back. They scored a touchdown with like a minute left in the game and converted a 2-point conversion, forced overtime, and then won by a field goal. Why didn't I watch this game? But I need to go back and watch this. But why were they struggling so much? Especially since their quarterback had 364 passing yards, and the other team's quarterback had 329. So I mean, it didn't matter. And also their running back for Western Kentucky had 135 on the ground. So it seems like defensively Indiana's not there. And what is that? That's one, two, three Big 10 teams I've talked about that have either struggled or lost. And yeah, this conference, I'm getting lower and lower on them, even though Penn State is kind of holding it up for me because I'm really excited for that running back. Their running back is looking great. I don't think Sean Clifford is the answer. I mean, dude's been in college football for like 8 years. Not actually, but I'm just exaggerating. Like what, 5 years, 6 years. Yeah, I think you're gonna get what you're gonna get out of him. He's gonna be like a solid QB at best. West Virginia finally destroyed a team, Towson, and I do feel bad for them. I just want to throw it out there because JT Daniels he doesn't get a break, but UCLA and South Alabama. What was South Alabama doing near the end of the game? That last play they drew up did not make any sense at all. They should have just hit the field goal because UCLA ended up going down the field and having to hit a field goal as the time expired, meaning they only won by 1 point. And In that case, they would have had to at least gone for the touchdown on that play, on that last play instead of just hit a field goal, and they would have lost the game. But now UCLA is 3-0. They, they, I guess they're near the top of the Pac-12, which is sad, but that's that. Rutgers barely beat Temple, man. This is what I just don't understand because this team, they beat Boston College by 1 point, and now they barely beat Temple. And it seems like Rutgers, I know they're never a good team, but it seems like they're going to be one of the better team in the Big Ten, which is why I think Big Ten is the most overrated conference right now. And keep in mind, in like the 2010s, I thought Big Ten was like the second best conference. When some years they definitely competed, maybe even better than the SEC. And this is coming from a diehard SEC fan. There were a couple years where, especially when there were like 2 or 3 years where SEC like didn't perform in the bowl games, and while with teams that did not lose much talent to the draft, it's different when you lose most of your production to the draft. That's different, but like there were a couple seasons where Big Ten legitimately looked like the top conference, or like they were competing most of the time. Most of the time, it was at least competing. But I'm looking at this Big Ten West, and which is Northwestern, terrible. Minnesota, probably the best team there, and I would probably say would maybe be the fourth best team because I didn't watch much of their games last season, but I know they went on a run, and now they're undefeated, 3-0. They've been beating up on bad teams, but hey, at least they're beating up on them. They're not letting it be close. So props to Minnesota, but Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Purdue, Nebraska, what do we expect from these teams? Iowa's been looking terrible, and Wisconsin, I know they just destroyed the team this weekend, but they just lost to Washington State, and Washington State is not necessarily that good of a team, even in the Pac-12. So so until they find like at least just get a decent quarterback, bro. At least get like I make fun of Penn State for having what's his name, Sean Clifford. At least get a Sean Clifford because your running game is set. Your running game is set. Your defense is set. You guys always get the best linemen. Wisconsin, something about Wisconsin linemen. They all look 350 pounds and up. You can tell they're built for rush blocking. They're really built for that, but just get a decent quarterback. Like, how hard is that? Just get somebody who can who can like manage the game as a quarterback. Like, oh, dude. Enough with the Big Ten. That was 4 teams in the Big Ten and the Big Ten West. Also, I was talking about the Big Ten West being crap outside of Minnesota. But Big Ten East too. Michigan State. I'm not buy. I wasn't buying them at the beginning of the season. Given what happened last year, they went on this big run. They were like top 5 in college football last year. Everyone was hyping them up. Oh, we don't get enough credit. We're Michigan State is back. And then they got destroyed by Michigan and Ohio State because they're like Wisconsin, their game was heavily predicated around their running game. And once those teams that had defensive lines that could overpower, because I don't even know, because I wouldn't even say Michigan State had a better line than Wisconsin, even though I will admit that's more just from public perception because Wisconsin is known for being that team when it comes to producing linemen. But Michigan State, I will say they just couldn't handle those defensive lines. And when you can like open up the field and stuff, what do you expect your running back to do? And now they don't have Kenneth Walker. So what is the result of that? Washington coming out and destroying them, even though they made a late run. It was the game was pretty much put away. I think it was more of just Washington taking it easy and not really caring, and that's how they kind of came back into the game. So yeah, like I didn't think this episode would also turn into a Big Ten thing. So maybe I should just leave it into analyzing the Big Ten and then do another one because I'm all over the place. But yeah, Maryland is also undefeated. Didn't they do this last season where they went like 4-0, 5-0, and then just started losing once they got into big play? Uh, okay, I just saw. What was that? Was that Mark Ingram running the ball? My bad. I'm watching the Saints right now. That's my favorite NFL team, but he just had a big run. But Maryland, I'm not gonna lie, I don't watch Maryland games, and they squeezed out a win against SMU. They beat them by a touchdown, and they were losing to FSU going. I mean SMU, not FSU. SMU going into the fourth quarter, and but they came back in the fourth and didn't let them score. Scored two touchdowns. Talia had a game that you would expect from Talia to have, and yeah, man, I don't. I think it's gonna be another like what, like 7-5, 6-6 season by Maryland, and I don't think they're gonna be a good team again. Maybe because the Big Ten in general is kind of down. They're gonna they're gonna probably have a positive record. Well, then again, they're in the East. I don't think they're gonna be better than Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, maybe even Michigan State, even despite everything I just said about that program. But yeah, and Indiana, terrible, terrible, terrible team. They barely, even though they are 3-0, they barely beat Illinois. I guess you can chalk that up to being a conference game. Idaho, they beat 35-22. I didn't watch that game, so can't really speak on it. And same, I haven't really been watching Western Kentucky, but Indiana. And you can come out and say, hey, you're not really watching the games, you don't understand it. And I'm the first one to say these stat lines, these scores, they are not full representations. But if I'm seeing it on this much of a scale throughout the conference, I can't help but to worry a bit. And also, I can also understand it's the beginning of the season. Maybe these guys get it together because Nick Saban made a point about transfer portal affecting the teams because it's a lot of new faces. Not everyone's staying in the program long term, so people are still adjusting. Maybe some of these teams can get it together and start to look a lot better as the season progresses. So I'll give Big Ten that. I'll give them that. But I mean, I'm still not sold on even Michigan, man. Penn State, uh, I think they can be like a top 10-ish, easily top 15 team. Do I think they're a contender? Not quite. They beat up on Auburn, but Auburn's terrible. And yeah, dude, I don't. I'm still not sure about Penn State, but I still think they can be a really good team. I still think they can be a very good team. Michigan is still up for debate because yes, they've been beating up these teams, but when they start playing good competition, could they repeat what they did last year with Ohio State? And I'm concerned because Ohio State last year it was a lot of youth. Yeah, they had all the talent in the world, more talent. They always have top recruiting classes, number two, number three, number two, number three, more than Michigan, but Michigan had a lot of seniority last year. They were led by Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo. And those guys were both first round talents. They were ballers, and also Hassan Haskins completely ran all over Ohio State last year. And can they replicate that kind of success? I don't know, but I will say putting J.J. McCarthy in and getting your top recruit quarterback to start getting in reps so he could be better prepared for that game at the end of the season is a step in the right direction. Even if they're worse this season compared to with McNamara, they're at least taking a step in the right direction by getting the youth to play and let them at least by next season they could probably be a legitimate contender, and I'm like that they're doing that and trying to get become more like quarterback oriented. So I will give Michigan that. That could be a legitimate contender with Ohio State in a year. As of right now, it's still yet to be determined, but will they be a top 10 team to finish the season? Yeah, probably. Their defense, even though they lost experience and stuff, I'm sure they reloaded there. Sure, they got some good running backs and stuff. So that I will say that's carrying them. But Michigan State, that's going to be what's bringing your conference down because Damn, Big Ten is not looking good this year. They're really not. And if I'm gonna do a preview for next week, I should probably go and do that. So, quick preview. Next week, Maryland plays Michigan. I think Michigan's going to destroy Maryland, but hey, maybe I should give them a chance. Minnesota, Michigan State. I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota pulls off the upset, man. Uh, what's his name? Oh yeah, Tanner Morgan. How did I blank out? But this guy is not bad, man. I haven't watched too much, but I've seen some clips and he's looking nice, man. I mean, he's definitely better than Peyton Thorne for Michigan State. He has not been looking that great for Michigan State, especially in that Washington game. When at least from what I was watching and seeing, but hey, I mean, Michigan State's predicted to win this game. It seems like they good chance they probably still could pull it out, but hey, I think Minnesota could be a surprise team, man. Really can. Indiana, Cincinnati. This could probably change my perception of Indiana. If they come out and beat Cincinnati, that could change my perception of them. Because yes, even in that Arkansas game, it seemed like Cincinnati's offense is clearly not the same. And even though they lost Kobe White and Sauce Gardner, like two first round cornerbacks, their defense still looks legit, man. And Cincinnati is a 2-1 team after the Arkansas loss, and they did put up a decent fight against that team. Then again, Missouri State did, but that's besides the point. But Cincinnati, dude, it's if Indiana pulls out the victory, man, then you know maybe this conference is gonna start looking way better. If Indiana and Minnesota start show that side of themselves, hey man, maybe Big Ten. Maybe I'm completely wrong about Big Ten. Maybe they're legitimate. Maybe they could compete with the SEC. Maybe they could be better. I don't know. We'll have to see because there's also Rutgers and Iowa. Iowa looks terrible, bro. And I've seen all the memes. I have been seeing the memes. The 7-3 win. They Even though they destroyed Nevada out of all teams, I'm not even sure they could be Rutgers. I mean, I guess you can say Rutgers would be good for they're a 4-0 team. Maybe they should be ranked, but they beat Boston College by 1 point and Temple by 2 points. And then after that, Iowa, they're gonna play Ohio State. So I'm sorry, Rutgers fans. Even if you have a positive record, I don't think you guys are a top 25 team. If 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 it plays out how I think it's gonna play out, even if you guys beat Iowa. So sorry, I don't I don't really see this. But this week, Wisconsin and Ohio State, dude. If Wisconsin pulls off the victory, hell is loose. Hell is loose. Oh man, but maybe there's a way where Wisconsin rebounds from that Washington State loss and they run through their schedule because after that they're gonna play Illinois, Northwestern not good, with Michigan State maybe if the AP poll keeps giving Michigan State a lot of credit that they don't deserve and keep hyping up that program and Wisconsin beats them, then Wisconsin's a ranked team again. Also, they play Maryland. I mean, you know what I just said about Maryland, but hey, it's probably going to be one of the better teams in the Big Ten, so, that's still something to say. And I can't take that away from them. And then at the end of the season, they play Minnesota. So they win these games and stuff, then, yeah, they're definitely a ranked team. They're definitely worthy of being a ranked team. Even if the quality of the teams may be that good, it's still conference schedule, and finishing a season with one loss is not easy. Do I think they'll finish with one loss? Absolutely not. But if you have 2 or 3 losses, could they be on the verge of being top 25 or top 25? We'll see. That running back dude, he's gonna have to do a lot for that team, for that offense, I should say, because defensively too, I think they're pretty decent, at least defensively. They have been. So yeah, that's my Big Ten analysis. Uh, and then, despite everything I've said, I think that their ranking and for the second best conference is slipping. Big 12 is catching up. I wanted to say ACC is catching up because I'm more excited for the ACC with all the QB talent. But in those first 2 weeks, especially, it seems like Big 10 teams were beating a lot of these ACC teams. So there's that. So as a whole, they're still better than ACC, but and not to mention like Virginia struggled. All these teams like with Devin Leary had his struggles. Sam Hartman has had his struggles. I mean, dang, even Tyler Van Dyke, even though I can't really say it was really on him, it was more the receivers, but against Texas A&M, like there was that. And Texas A&M is not really the best SEC team, if I gotta say. But anyways, that's my analysis for Big Ten. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, and thank you all for listening. I appreciate it. Peace.